Basketball fans, welcome back. So previously, we have looked at the failure that was the year 2022 for the Kenya Morans. I can even class it as a dark year. And as the years progressed, the Kenya Morans was slated to participate in the Fiba Afrochan of 2023. So the last time we saw the Kenya Morans play in the Afrochan, they won silver. And this marked as the highest point in Kenya Morans basketball. Even despite the finish, this was the strongest team at the time. But point of note, the strongest team in Kenyan basketball finished second against bench players of other countries. So that's a very huge point to note. And in the 2023 FIBA Afrochan, a lot of people thought that the Kenyan Morans are going to go ahead and whitewash everything. Coach Cliff was back. The Kenya Basketball Federation cabal, the incompetent management brought back Coach Cliff, who is a certified loser. And they carried on with the same impunity. And the brightest spot that we saw in this edition of the Afrochan was Derek Ogechi was cleared to play for the Kenya Morans and made his debut. We saw Eugene Adera make his debut. We saw Bramwell make his debut. So we had a couple of players who made their debuts, and it was a good feeling to see. And also Ariel Ortega playing for the Kenya Morans made his debut there. And Kennedy Washira picked up where he left off in 2022. So 2022, Kennedy Washira, he went ahead and debuted in the FIBA World Cup qualifiers in July in Cairo in 2022, but it was the worst place where he could debut because it was in the midst of so many problems. But in this video, we'll be looking at the FIBA Afrochan of 2023. So I said, let me just give you a brief rundown before we get into the whole story of what really happened. So I was covering this edition of the Afrochan very closely, and I was monitoring every Kenya Morans moves. And through even the training camp, even through the exhibition matches, they went ahead and played some teams that don't even exist. We saw the South Sudan. They played against, was it Street League Select? They played against the South Sudanese Kenyan-based players. In another team that they played, I think it was the Nairobi Select, if I'm not wrong. They went ahead and played a couple of matches, but this was not even going to be able to prepare them for what is to come, because Kenya was slated to play against Cote d'Ivoire, Gabon, Morocco, Nigeria, and Tunisia. So the Kenya Morans in this edition finished their 2-3 record, and they placed 6th. A stark contrast to what we saw them in 2019 when they finished 2nd. But remember, they played against bench players. And the Afrochan is a tournament designed by FIBA to promote the local players in the leagues so that they can just have an avenue before they go to the serious things like the Afrobaskets, the FIBA World Cup qualifiers, all that. So there was this whole debate of whether the Kenya Morans should just opt on a full-on rebuild or go ahead and contend. If they are going on a rebuild, they need to get rid of the legacy players who have played in the team too long. Somebody like Griffin Ligare, Bushwa Mukota, Bosire, Mutoro, Victor Ochieng was supposed to get out of the team so that they can commit to a full-on rebuild. But the powers that be decided, you know what, let's just keep these people. Well, one thing that they never understood was you can keep the legacy players, but you're never going to win anything with them. So this is something that they failed to understand and they failed to take heed to. So they went ahead and said, you know what, we want to contend. So let's just go ahead and bring the legacy players who lack the ability to play competitive basketball, and they are very up there in age. Let's go ahead and commit to them. So they went ahead with the training, and the day finally approached, and they flew to Angola. So the games were being hosted by Angola, a sub-Saharan nation that is very good. The Petro de Luanda team hails from Angola, and Angola, their national team, have been doing damage in African basketball, and it was a very good feel-good moment. So with even this year 2023, it was a very spectacular year because months prior we saw the reunion of Coach Liz Mills and Tyler Ongwae at the ABC Fighters. So that was a very good feel-good moment, but that's not the video. That's not the main subject for the video. We're talking about the Kenya Morans. So remember, Tyler Ongwae is not on the team anymore. He quit the team, and you still have Coach Cliff with his his coaching style, and he's a man who is a certified loser. He doesn't have any philosophy. He doesn't have strategy and tactics that can lead the Kenya Morans to be able to go ahead and win any silverware. So the first game was against Cote d'Ivoire. This game, the Kenya Morans won 62-52. And a lot of people are saying, the Kenya Morans can go ahead and win it. We have all what it takes, everything, all that stuff. People were saying all manner of things on social media, saying that, even some people even coming to videos on my channel saying, you see, you are wrong, all this. But I was like, you know what, the first game, you're forgetting that in 2022, Kenya went 0-6 in the FIBA World Cup. When I reminded them that, they always kept quiet. But when they win, they were very mouthy. So the first game, it started off on a good note with a win, a 10-point win. But not to throw any shade, but Cote d'Ivoire fielded bench players. So they were not the best players in Cote d'Ivoire, because the roster that was fielded in the AfroBasket 2021 by Cote d'Ivoire went ahead and finished. They actually placed top 5. So they were very good. They are very good in Kenyan basketball, because, like I said, the Fiba Afrochan is a developmental tournament. You're not putting like the best players. You're just putting like the local players. You're giving them a place where they can gather and build minutes and play and have some mileage, so that when they go ahead and play in other tournaments, they are good. Now it looks like the Kenyan Morans never read the memo. They are going. It's like a do or die game for them. So this one, they celebrated it. Then the players against Gabon. So Gabon is a country that has not featured in the FIBA Afrobasket for years, and also the FIBA World Cup. They've never been able to make the cut. And Gabon went ahead and beat Kenya by 3 points. And I can even say, late in the game at the clutch, the Kenya Morans did not know how to close the game. And you could see that there was a huge disconnect between the Coach Cliff and the players, because the players were not able to understand how they were going to operate and finish this game. And Gabon took advantage of that and won this game by 3 points. I remember I made a very long video talking about it, unpacking the stats, everything. But hey, this was the first loss. Then you had all the excuses flying around. Those 2 games, Cote d'Ivoire and Gabon, were in the group phase. Then we had that game against Morocco, and I can say this is the game that this game I can say broke the relationship between Eugene Adera and Coach Cliff, because on the one hand, Coach Cliff demanded that he needed to play the legacy players, the likes of Bosire, Mutoro, Griffin, players who are very useless when it comes to continental basketball. You insist on playing them. So this was a very bad matchup, and running the same plays over and over again. They're thinking that Morocco were going to not understand what is really going on. But Morocco were able to beat and dispatch the Kenyan Morans. The final score was 55-46. So one thing that I feel like Kenya and Coach Cliff, the Kenyan Morans Coach Cliff, and the incompetent Kenya Basketball Federation failed to understand that basketball in Africa is controlled and run by North African teams. Morocco, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt. These are the countries, these are the nations that run African basketball. And I can put an outlier in Angola, a team in Sub-Saharan. And some teams in the Sahel like Senegal, but they're not as powerful or powerhouses similar to what the North African teams have done. But that's one thing that they fail to understand. And Morocco, after beating the Kenyan Morans, they went ahead and won the whole thing. And Kenya had to settle for classification games. They won that game against Nigeria, 61-59. Then they lost their classification game against Tunisia, 67-59. So one thing that I really did not like, especially the mentality when it came to Kenya Morans basketball, even after they got knocked out, you say, we still have another game to play. I'm like, you got knocked out from contention, and you have to go ahead and settle for classification games. Classification games don't win you anything. There's just rankings. That's it. So we got knocked out of contention, but people still said, we still have 2 more games left to play, all that. So there's that very retrogressive and I can say foolish mentality that some pundits have. And I saw it, and I saw that rhetoric, and it really rubbed me off the wrong way, because how can you drop from silver in 2019, feeling like the quote-unquote best roster, then you come back and say, we lost it, but hey, basketball, winning, losing, bad day at the office. There's this comment that I've always seen, especially when the Kenya Morans lose, because a lot of people defend like failure, and the people who defend failures are failures themselves. So I've seen people say, the Kenya Morans had a bad day at the office. When you say bad day at the office, this is a one-time occurrence, and it doesn't happen regular. So did the Kenya Morans have a bad day at the office in 6 games of the FIBA World Cup qualifiers? Did they have a bad day at the office when they got beat from pillar to post in the games there in 2022? And also the Afrobasket, when they are playing in the qualifiers, did they have a bad day at the office then? So this comment I really take exception to, and it's something that I don't agree with. So even after losing, getting beat by Morocco, they had to play against Nigeria, which they won. And I can say they won against, bench players. And that game against Tunisia did not even feel like their best roster, but they were able to beat Kenya. And Kenya bowed out of the tournament with a 6th place finish. And what that meant was the next time we're going to have an edition of the FIBA Afrochan, the Kenya Morans will have to go play the qualifiers first before playing the actual Afrochan. Because the reason as to why the Kenya Morans got a direct entry to the Afrochan is because they finished silver. Now, because of the incompetence of Coach Cliff, the Kenya Morans management, the incompetent KBF officials who just want to fill their passports and travel different countries, they set this team back, and we are going to go through qualifiers in the next Afrochan. So that was the worst thing to ever happen to the team, and it has always been a regression. We saw the regression in 2022, going 0-for-6, bowing down 0-for-6, and having the worst possible, outcomes in these tournaments. Then in 2023, we failed to even make the finals again, and we finished 6th. After finishing 6th, that means that we have to go ahead and play the qualifiers when the next edition of the Afrochan happens, and the people are unapologetic about it. When these people win, they mouth off a lot, especially when they qualified in the Afrobasket 2021. The Kenya Morans, they were mouthing off everywhere, doing interviews, but when they lose, they're very quiet. When they lost, games, they fly into the country like they enter country, they come to Nairobi like thieves. You don't even know if they landed. They don't post anything on social media, nothing. But when they win, they open their mouths. That's when you see the back there. When they are talking, you can see the last tooth in the mouth. You can see it when they win. But when they lose, they're very quiet. So it's the hypocrisy. Keep that same energy. And just know the management has set this team back. This is the second regression in the year 2023. And yeah, I'm going to make also a video talking about the 2024 FIBA Afrobasket qualifiers. So stay tuned to that. So that's all I got for you guys. So like, share, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to get notified, because I'll be dropping a ton of content of this nature. And stay tuned, and I'm out. Peace.